In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to color correct our shots inside Premiere Pro. And it's actually very exciting because since the update 2014 or something, I believe, they have added a complete color correction suite inside the application. So let's have a look here. In my timeline, you can see that I have two shots of Kim walking. This one right here and then a second one right there. And something that immediately falls to my attention is that the first shot is more blue tinted. What I've actually done wrong here was set the white balance inside my camera wrong. But luckily we can correct that or color correct that. And in order to do that, we can head over to our menu on top, go to Window, and I'm going to go to Lumetri right here, Lumetri Color. Click on that, which will also open up a panel on the right side. And let me just collapse this right here. The Lumetri panel comes with different categories to change the colors of your clip. We got the basic correction, we got creative corrections, we got the curves, color wheels, HSL, secondary, and vignette. Now I'm not going to dive too deep into this because we actually have a separate course also here on Skillshare that covers everything about color correction and color grading. Color grading is a little different process. It's where you give a certain look to your shots. As with color correction, you are correcting something, just like something that we are going to do right now. So what I want to do is head over to the correction tab first, the basic correction. Click on that and that will open up the basic controls to control the contrasts and the colors of your clip. Now very important is that you have the correct clip selected. So let me just make a little bit more room for everything like so. So let's start here with the colder clip on the left side. It's much colder, so let's correct that. Having this selected, I'm going to change the colors of that clip now with these settings on the right side. And the first thing that I see here is temperature, and that is the exact slider that I was looking for. With this, we can add some more yellow or orange into that shot by just pulling it to the right side. And already you can see that it starts to match a bit more with the one here on the right side, just by adding a bit more of that temperature. So that is one way to fix your shot. Now sometimes when you are pulling these colors, you might introduce a different tint into it. And that's where the tint slider comes in. Because as I'm adding more orange into the shot, I'm also introducing a bit more magenta into the shot. And that's why I kind of want to add the opposite color of that, which is green. So just a tiny bit of green sometimes. It really depends on the shot that you are working with. And now it has a correct warm tone over it. Of course, this is way too much. It's not the same as with the second clip anymore. So let's just reset that value. And I can do that by double clicking here on this slider. That will reset the value. The same thing goes for the temperature right there. So let's just add a tiny bit of temperature into it, a little bit more warmth. And you can go back and forward between these two shots. Take a look at the sky up here. Maybe that was a bit too much. Let's pull it a tiny bit back like this, so that the sky looks somehow the same like that. This should look okay. Now in our color correction course, we really take this to the maximum. We have, for example, two way different shots and we have to use more of these controls right here to match them together. So it's really interesting. If you want to take your color correction or grading skills to that next level, definitely make sure to check out that course here in Skillshare as well. Alright, furthermore, taking a look at the basic corrections, what this lesson here is about, we have some more options right here to change the contrast of our shots. We can, for example, decrease the exposure, which is just the brightness of the shots, like that. And this is also a control that is used very often to match two shots, because often that is a setting which is different as well. We have a contrast slider, which will kind of make the shot pop more. This looks most of the time a bit better. Just be careful though that you keep or that you retain detail in the shadows right here. Let me just zoom in here on 100% so that we can see Kim a little bit better right there. You can see her coat right here. There's detail into it. We see which kind of shapes that coat has. But when I'm going to like decrease the shadows a bunch more and maybe the blacks as well, which is really going to crush those blacks. You can see it here, also here on her sleeve, we are losing detail. So be careful when you're going to add tons of contrast into your shots. All right, let me just reset those values right here and go back to the fit view. Now, one of the controls which I use very often is the highlights slider. A common problem is that you have overexposed parts, and sometimes you can save that with the highlight slider. So also here in this shot, we can see that the sky is completely blown out. It is overexposed. But luckily, with this highlight slider, just look at what it does here in the shot. It will introduce that blue sky a tiny bit back by just decreasing that highlight slider. So that is amazing that we have that option here inside Premiere Pro. And finally, we have the saturation slider here on the bottom, which will just make your shot more vivid or less vivid. You can even decrease it all the way to have a black and white image. That is what the saturation slider does. I would say play around with these sliders, see for yourself what they do to your image. I mean, some of these are just way too convenient, like the shadows or the blacks. What they will do, I mean, they will just decrease the blacks or increase the blacks. So play around with these, see what they do for yourself. I'm going to collapse the basic correction because there's one thing that I want to show you guys in the creative tab. Namely, we have here the sharpness slider. Sometimes you shoot something which is out of focus. What you can then do is increase the sharpness here a tiny bit. Don't increase it too much. You always want to increase something or change a value and then look at your shot, what it does to your shot. Because if you would increase this dramatically, let's just do that for a moment, you will see that Kim right here just looks way too sharp, which is not natural anymore. So we can do that a tiny bit, something around 15, maybe 20, and not more than that. Now, in the beginning of this lesson, I was talking about color correction and color grading. Two different processes. With color correction, you're going to correct a clip, the colors of it, and with grading, you're going to give it a specific look. Now, grading is a whole different chapter, so I can't dive deep into that. But here under the Creative tab, there's actually a very simple one-click-and-go setting to add a specific look to your shot. You can either select one from the drop-down menu right here. These are different looks, or you can also navigate through it right here. And right away, you can see how the look kind of looks in this preview box. So let's go for something. Maybe this one here is pretty cool. Once you've got that selected, click on it and that will apply it to your shot. So that way you can kind of give your shots a very quick and dirty grading to it. So I'm not going to dive too much anymore into these color correction settings because it's a whole different chapter. But do try to experiment with these settings. Try them for yourself and see what they do. Sometimes by just trying or experimenting with things, you learn something new by yourself. Alright, a question that I also get a lot from my students is, I've applied a certain grading or a certain look to my clip, but how can I copy that now to the rest of my shots? Because I don't want to create this same grading every time for every new clip. Well, here's how it goes. When you are changing things here in Lumetri, what Premiere Pro actually did was applying the Lumetri effect onto your clip. So with that effect here selected, you can head over to your effects controls and scroll down. Right here, you can see Lumetri color. Also, from this effect right here, we can find all the same options that we got from the Lumetri panel. So you can also change it in here if you like so. But of course, that is not so convenient. I believe that this right here is more user-friendly to change your colors in here. But knowing that we have all of those settings here in that effect, we can copy that to the other clips. So we can right-click on the Lumetri color, say copy, or you can also use your short keys, Ctrl-C, to copy it or Command-C. And then on your second clip right here, where you would like to paste that effect, just hit Ctrl-V or Command-V. Or you can also just right-click here in your effects controls with that clip selected and say paste. And that will apply it as well to it. Now be careful, however, because we've done a color correction first with this one. So we are also copying that warm tone that we've added here in this clip. So we might want to adjust here a tiny bit to it and kind of reset that temperature again. So now we should somehow get the same look in the two shots. If you are going to copy a color correction, you always kind of want to change some individual settings for each clip. Every clip is different, so every clip needs a different treatment as well. But it's a good start to kind of copy it and then start from the same base. Alright guys, so that was it for color correcting your clips inside Premiere Pro. Practice with the demo footage. In the next lesson, we are going to mix some audio because we've been talking a lot about video and graphics and animations and all, but what about audio effects? That's for the next lesson.